Oh man, we're seeing a race against time. A legal race against time. More and more evidence coming out. We've all heard that the Durham investigation has gone criminal. Stuff going on there. They just done that here the last 2 weeks or so, 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks. But well, why? Because they found things. Durham digging found things. Hartswich digging for the last year and a half or so found things. um, it's a race of justice against time. The Democrat Party was part of an illegal spying rig against candidate Trump. And the Obama administration was behind it. He had the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, the IRS. It's unreal the people he had playing this thing. And it was coming from the White House. You can bet your butt on it. It come from the White House. He was behind it. And well, they know for a fact he used the illegal server and all that stuff with Hillary's. They know for a fact he's on it. They know. Well, they was using the illegal servers and stuff even after Hillary got caught in that stuff. These people in the State Department still using illegal servers and stuff. But the evidence is coming out. I just catching the news there just in. Biden said he didn't know what his son's activities were with, was it Burisma or whatever there in Ukraine, the gas company or oil company, whatever it is. So he didn't know what their dealings was when his son was getting $50,000 a month in a field of work that he knew nothing about. Biden said he didn't knew nothing about it, but the same company that Biden said he knew nothing about his son's work activities or work there, the same company paid Biden $900,000. Whoo! God. That thought run through my mind again. I'd done a video or two on it before about the Mueller probe when it didn't give the Democratic Party and the liberals, the socialists, the anti-American perverts that's been screaming for the last who knows how many years now. Anti-American, anti-honorable, anti-just, anti-moral, anti-God, and just about any anti-decent thing you can come up with. That's what they are. The Bible says wherein there's envy and strife, there's every evil work. So that's what they are. Okay? There's no peace. There's no peace in anti-just activity, people. There's no peace in it. It'll sit and it'll chew on itself. It'll chew on itself. But they didn't get what they wanted through the Mueller report. And right off the bat, there was a bunch of these liberal socialist Democrats took off to Cuba. Now, I want you to think about this now. David, Old Testament, said, "The wicked plot behind closed doors to capture my soul." The wicked plot behind closed doors. They didn't get what they want from the Mueller probe, and they all jumped on a plane or a boat or something or another and right down into Cuba, out of America's eyes, out of the media's eyes, out of everybody's eyes. They right down into Cuba. They flew into Cuba behind closed doors to where people couldn't see what they were doing. They flew to Cuba. behind closed doors to where people couldn't hear their plans, their plots, their scheming. They flew to Cuba behind closed doors because they did not want you and me to know what they were doing. The wicked plot behind closed doors to capture my soul. And here, this was about back in, what was it, April? Somewhere back through there when Mueller's report come out. Somewhere back in there, late spring, early summer, somewhere. But they didn't get what they wanted, and here they come up. They come up 3 months later, 4 months later, something or other. They come up, and they got another lie put together. Another lie put together, and that lie is falling apart. But yet, their lie has strength in the Democratic Party. Their lie has strength within the Democratic Party. They lied to try to upset the 2016 presidential election. They couldn't stop it, and now they're trying to lie to get it out of the way because they are going to jail. The names are coming down. Their names are coming down. Harry Reid, now I don't know how far this is going, but Harry Reid's son works for a solar company. They built this big plane out there in Arizona or Nevada or somewhere, and things didn't do exactly what they're saying. They may not be anything there, I don't know. But anyway, I've seen reports that Nancy Pelosi's son is under the microscope now. Joe Biden's son is under the microscope now. John Kerry's got family, and John Kerry too, under the microscope, and Joe Biden and Nancy. They're all under the microscope now. Basically pay to play. You know, getting tied up with people and telling these people, well, you take care of family, or you pad my pocket and I'll let you play the game with us, baby. They're under the microscope. But it all comes up to the same thing. They all comes up to the same thing. They put plans together under the Obama administration to upset a 2016 election. They tried to lie Hillary into office. They tried to cheat Hillary into an office. They tried to manipulate Hillary into an office. They tried to scheme and plot Hillary into office. All this stuff went on, and now it's being uncovered. It's a race of time. It's either justice is going to win under William Barr and Durham and Hauschwitz, and what they're doing, their investigation, and they're uncovering stuff. They're uncovering things all the time now. Things are coming together. But what you have to realize is when these indictments start and they start falling regularly or fairly regularly, these people are going to start squealing. And now all this junk is going to start coming out. It's been worked into the background for, 13 years or better while Obama was in office, and now. It's still going on right now. This junk is coming out. The swamp is being uncovered. Oh, he used the word swamp. He must be a Trump supporter. Yeah, I am a Trump supporter. I am a Trump supporter. Let's make no mistake about it. Hey, I'm behind him 999 or 99.99%. I leave that one little percentage for a reason, and that's the reason that's mine. That's the reason that's mine. But you ask me if I'm a Trump supporter, you ain't just a honky tonk, and I'm a Trump supporter, man. I most definitely am. If it wasn't for fixed income, if I had some of the money some of these other people got, I'd be throwing money behind him too. I'd be throwing it in there, getting him in there. Because this is just getting started, people. It's just getting started. This swamp has been in place for years. Years. You know, you can look at a swamp and you You know, well, what this all this old cattail and brush and sticks and garbage, all this stuff is it's over here blocking the outlet on this creek. Is where it's let to. It's where all that's the problem right there. It's let all this stuff build up behind it and cram and jam in, and it's hardening and it's good, and it's not letting the flow, the free flow, go of the creek and keep the water fresh. The problem's right down here. No, the problem's not that. It's there when it started. The problem is the whole swamp itself. The things that blocked it were wrong. But the problem now is the whole swamp itself. The whole swamp is all the lies. Not just this little impoundment. It's the lies that's built up behind it. It's the treachery that's built up behind it. It's the scheming and plotting behind it. It's the thievery and the raping and the murder that's built up. It's all the junk that's going on. It's all the junk. The swamp isn't just the impoundment. The swamp is everything that's built up and crammed in and jammed in behind. You could take the impoundment out now. Listen, you could take the impoundment out now and the swamp would still stay there because it's been laying there so long. The swamp would remain. It would little by little wash off the edges and maybe 3 years down the road have an avenue cut through. The creek would. But the problem is not just the impoundment that stopped the whole thing and started it in the first place. That's not the problem. The problem now is all the organizations, all the individuals, abortion, illegal immigration, what is that group? Well, the NAACP, they're part of it. Black Lives Matter has become, and you got other things. You have KKK groups and socialist groups, and you have all this stuff. All this stuff is part of the swamp now, because it all has its way of resisting justice. It all has its way of resisting honor. It all has its way of resisting truth. See, that's where the impoundment first started. That was building the lie in order for them to get by and have their own thinking accepted. They built this impoundment. They resisted truth and honor. That's what built the impoundment. That's where it began. But it never stopped there. It's everything else that came in and wanted its way, that would not apply truth and honor to its thinking, but it just wanted its way. That's where your swamp is, people. It's all the junk that's come in. Isaiah 32, 5-8. Verse 8 talks about it. Said the liberal devises liberal things, and by liberal things he stands. The liberal devises excuses for the people that want excuses, and the people that have been given the excuses support the excuse giver. The swamp is everything that is congregated and compacted in that wanted its way and did not act godly, morally, justly. I mean, this goes all the way from people. This goes all the way from Washington, D.C. down to where we live, here in the sticks of West Virginia and other places. And a little story. I told this once, I believe, but I'm going to tell you this again. I worked a strip job a few years back. I mean, about almost 20 years back, 18, 19 years back, something like that. And there was two fellows that worked there. They were brother-in-laws. But one of the guys told me one day, I was talking to him, good Christian boy, and talking to him, and he said, and you know, you just get to know people, and you get a chance to talk, you just chit-chat and this stuff. But he told me one day, he said, John, my dad said he's worked around prep plants 40 years. He can't hardly breathe. Does good to get his breath and can't get black lung. He said my uncle, his dad's brother, he said my uncle had went to Social Security office or something, and one of the workers at that Social Security office told him, said, if you'll sign up for black lung, I'll see that you get it. Now this is, his dad can't get it, but his dad's brother was offered by a Social Security worker, told him, if you'll sign up for black lung, I'll see that you get it. But he said there was one problem. He said his uncle, his dad's brother, said he'd never worked around a mine, never worked around paints, never had any association with the coal field. But yet a Social Security worker told him, if you'll sign up for it, I'll see that you get it. You think about that. His own brother can't breathe because of black lung, coal dust in his lungs and stuff. His own brother can't breathe, and a Social Security worker tells him they would see that he got his black lung if he'd sign up, and him knowing good and well he never worked it. Never worked anything around it. I'd say he never went for it. I'd say he never went for it. If he had any honor at all, he wouldn't go for it, knowing that he wasn't eligible and his own brother dying with it. I'd say he never went for it. He said, oh, yeah. Now, see, it's every little thing that's lied about for people to get what they want. They become the swamp. The system wasn't created to make avenues of excuse for people that were willing to cheat to get what they want, to get their satisfaction. The system was built to run on truth and honor in order for things to move properly. Social Security was put in play back years ago in order for people in their elderly times that they would have something to fall back on, that they wouldn't starve, that they wouldn't do without, that they would have a way to survive. But you got people out there that will lie, jive, and connive to get on Social Security, knowing good and well they're not eligible. They shouldn't morally be eligible for it, but yet they get on it. They basically live like kings on lies. And to make things even worse, the federal government, under the Obama administration, they go in there and they rule or vote to take, what was it, $60 or $70 million more out of Social Security. When Bush the son was in office, they had moved things around to where they could get Social Security to stay alive until 2040 or 2040. That at least Social Security would last till then. Then the Obama administration follows him through, and the Congress votes that, well, we can jerk $60-70 million out of it. And now Social Security, its survival is pulled back to when? But yet they want to throw hundreds of millions of dollars. It'll even go into the billions. These liberals and socialists want to throw billions into going around the world and murdering unborn children. Instead of doing what's right and telling people truth and honor, don't lay in the bed if you're not willing to pay the consequences yourself. Don't sleep around if you're not willing to pay the consequences yourself. But now they want to throw millions, and it will even run into the billions of dollars around the world just to get rid of the unborn children. Get rid of them. Get rid of the little bastard, the little unwanted blob, the little inconvenience. Just get rid of it. Let me tell you something. Liberal thinking is giving excuse to all this overpopulation. And now they want to murder the overpopulation. Now they want to murder the overpopulation. And it will not stop there. It will not stop there, people. They jump on board with a lie, and now the lie is taking them out, and they're ready to kill whatever it takes to keep the lie covered up. They listen. Obamacare was set up to help thin the population. These people are hell-bent on thinning the population, and you may be one of them that gets took out. They're saying, well, it's in order for mankind or society to survive, we got to thin the numbers out. Stupid. Stupidity. Pure, vile, ugly stupidity. Listen. Conservative thinking, godly, moral, conservative thinking never overpopulated the world. Godly, moral, conservative thinking never overpopulated the world. Liberal, lying, exclusive thinking overpopulated the world. Liberal thinking did, not conservative, liberal. Overpopulated the world, and now they want to murder the little bastard. They want to polish off the little inconvenience. They want to rub out the little blob. And it's not going to stop there, people. It's not going to stop there. It's pitiful. It's pitiful. And whether you realize it or not, the Democratic Party has become. It's become that lying, divisive, murderous piece of poop that's carrying it out. They've become part of it. They have become part of that. It's pitiful. It's pitiful. And it's not just the Democratic Party, people. You got a lot of reporters, broadcasters out there talking it. They're backing it. They're supporting it. They're supporting it. You've got so-called college professors and school teachers supporting it. They've used their position as being an educator, and they filled the hearts and minds of our children with godless, immoral rot. They basically turned a lot of our students, our children, into Nazi zombies marching through Europe. Told you before, when they can't win on truth and honor and ethics and stuff like that, what do? They buy it off. What are these politicians doing? This Democratic lineup on the platforms. What are they saying? Oh, we're gonna give free health care to the whole world. That's not even friggin' possible. Oh, we're gonna give education to the whole world. They're promising you things that are not possible, not even feasible. They're promising you the world. It's like a story I told. A man told me. It's been a while back. He told me. He said when he was a teenager growing up, he walks into his home, into his dad's home, in his home, and he goes in there and here's three men sitting around a coffee table, and on this coffee table are stacks of money, Monopoly money, stacks of money. Vote money. Going to buy the people off, baby. Can't win them on merit. Can't win them on truth and honor. Going to buy them off. Buy them off. Make sure they stay in the group. Buy them off. That's exactly what the Democratic Party is doing right now, trying to buy the vote of the American people. Oh, you're cheap. Sell it to us. Come here, Mr. and Mrs. Cheap. Sell us your vote. We give you a vote. Come here, Cheap. Come in. They can't win them on merit. Can't win them on moral, godly, honorable word and action. They buy them off. Buy them off. That's what they're doing. That's what the Warrens and the Bidens and the whoever else is up there right now. That's what they're doing. They're going to buy you off, baby. Hey, listen. Let's face it. Let's face it. They're going to pay you for your whoredoms. Pay you for that cheap thinking and attitude you have. That's what they want to do. Pay you for your whoredoms. That's the ugly truth, people. This is where the rubber meets the road. I'm not talking Democrat and Republican. I'm not talking political. I'm talking the pure, hard road rubber tar squall. They want to pay you for your whoredoms because they give you excuses for your whoredoms, and then you kiss their butts. You know, I'll tell you, son, it's ugly. It's just ugly. I can't tell you anything else, people, than it's just ugly. It's an ugly avenue. They want to pay you for their whoredoms. They, excuse what it say? Said the liberal, he gives liberal excuse, and then those that have been given excuse support the liberal. The cheat gives the thief excuse, and then the thief supports the cheat. The molester gives the rapist an excuse, and then the rapist gives the molester support. The manipulator gives the liar an excuse, and then the liar supports the manipulator. That's what it's talking about. Sunny outside. Man, it looks awful pretty when it gets down below freezing. I've got this little chestnut tree out here. A lot of the leaves are still green and they're turning yellow and brown. But, you know, when I think about that frost, you know, through the night and that sun starts peeking through, boy, it looks awful inviting. Want to get out there and do something, but I've got a couple things I need to do today. So I'll be getting out, but not to enjoy it. I wanted to go hunting, but maybe not today. I'm gonna back off. I hope you find favor in God's eyes. People, this is where it all began. God laid out the foundations for a peaceful, just society during creation. He spoke his own essence into creation. He laid out the roadmap of a peaceful, just society. He gave Moses the 10 Commandments. And within those 10 Commandments, he says, thou shalt not. He was telling people, don't do this. If you do this, you'll wreck what I've set up for you. You'll destroy what I've envisioned and planned for you. Don't do these things. The foundations of life were laid right there. Justice for life was laid right there. It was handed over to the Jews. But you have people that want to manipulate that. They want to cheat and lie and steal and rape and murder, adulterize and just all kinds of friggin' rot. And now you look at the world. You have religions that are out there raping and murdering people. And the ignorance of some Americans are actually laying out the protection for those deadly, murderous religions. Laying out protections for them. Their words are divisive. Their words are hard and cool. And you have people that are just trying to protect them. That's the reason we're in the mess we're in. We've rejected the foundations of creation and life. And now it's kicking our teeth out. The roadmap to or at least as healthy or virtuous or blessed life that we could get while living in the flesh. We're kicking our heels up against the directions that keep us healthy, keep us in life, keep us wealthy, keep us up. We're trying to kick our heels up against it so we can satisfy our thinking and our desires. And it's killing us. It's kicking our teeth out. But there's a return. There is a return from that. There is a return from that. Jesus Christ said, "Come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest unto your soul. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly at heart." My yoke is my yoke is easy, my burden is light, and I will give you rest. There is a return. There is a fix for where things have gone wrong. There's a fix for that. There is a fix for that where it's gone wrong. Just when you just basically just say, "Lord, I've been doing it my way and it ain't worked. I've played around in my mind and in my heart and it's not working. Forgive me. Come in, Lord, and take this ridiculous thought pattern of life out of me. This ridiculous thought pattern, God, is killing me. It's killing my family. It's killing my bloodline. Come in, take it out of me. Lord, restore me unto the thinking. Restore me unto the thinking that you laid out in the beginning. In the beginning, Lord, give me that thinking. Let me absorb the wisdom. Let me absorb the knowledge. Let me absorb the blessing. Let me absorb the health. Let me absorb everything that comes in that sound avenue of thought. Let your Spirit reveal these secrets unto me. Only God, only God, only the one true God through the blood of Jesus Christ, through the blood of Jesus Christ, can actually restore us into the place to where God originally planned for us to be. I'll give you an example. I know a man and woman. Now this happened, well, probably in the neighborhood of 50 years ago. 40 years. Oh, let's say 40 years ago. But they believed in the Lord. They had a son, and their son, he was I think early 20s maybe, but he'd got a job working for a coal company or something or another. But he was an outside man. He was driving a supply truck. Maybe it wasn't for a coal company, but it's for something else. I'm not sure. But anyway, he was an outside man. He's driving a supply truck outside, maybe hauling from one job to another job or something. I'm not sure. This is just a few years before, my time. I was I might have been a little snot, 13 years old, and not knowing everything going around anyway. But he was driving his truck, and he would take supplies to these mines. And he never went underground except for when, see, you get around these old sticks and stuff, and you take supplies to these mines, and some of this stuff is worth some money, and people would steal it if they could get their hands to it. If it laid outside where they could see it, hey, they'd come in there and steal it. So what they do around these mines, a lot of times they'll take the supplies, they'll put them on a track car or a scoop or something or another, and they'll haul it just underground. Like you get underground. I don't know if you've been, some of you never maybe been in the mines, don't know, but you get underground and there's roadways cut through the mountains, and these roadways is where they gather the coal. They'll cut like maybe 5 or 6 roads up through here like this, and then they'll get up in there so far and they'll cut them across. And what it does, they cut these roadways and they come into squares. They cross like this underground. They cross like it right there. And what they do, he would haul these supplies into this first cross cut. The road goes in, and there'd be a cross cut in there, and he'd haul these supplies up in there, and he'd put them over in this cross cut. That way, they'd be out of the public's eye. They wouldn't know, people wouldn't know what was in there, and they would hide it there. But that was as far as he would go underground. He would take those supplies in there, maybe with the help of a person working there or whatever. They'd take it in there and they'd unload it in that little crosscut. That was as far as he went underground. Said he never went underground so far that he could not see the light of day. The drift or the opening of the mine looking outside. But one day he goes in there, taking supplies in, and a rock fell and killed the man. Young man. I don't remember what his age was, 19, 21, I don't remember. But it killed him. The mom and dad were destroyed. I mean, it's just, you can imagine, man. I mean, I might say I couldn't imagine, one of my babies, I just, oh, geez. But it killed the young man, and it destroyed the mom and dad. Oh, they got resentful against God. They got resentful against God. For 20 years, man, ooh, you took my son, you let my son die, you took my son. For 20 years, this resentment built up against the holy and righteous God. Ooh. For 20 years. 20 years they were miserable. Literally miserable in their heart and their mind because they had rejected what had taken place. And it was understandable for them to reject it. But the problem was they rejected in that. They refused to accept what God had ordained to let happen. They had no peace. They had no joy. Their lives were clouded. They were shaded. Their lives, they were miserable. For 20 years they were miserable. And that during that time there was people tried to talk to them and tried to bring some kind of reasoning to this, and to give them peace, and but for 20 years they were miserable. And then they just come to the point. They say, God, we've got to accept it. It's the way it is. We don't like it, but God, we accept it because we know that you're God and that you're just, that you're honorable, and we accept it. When they accepted the outcome, peace come back into their life. But they had rejected what went on. And they were miserable for 20 years. God has the fix you need. He has the fix you need for your personal life. But you've got to let Him be the orchestrator. He has to be the one that puts it together. You and I, we're not smart enough to look in tomorrow. We're not smart enough to see all this stuff. No doubt this mom and dad had prayed, Lord, save my son. Don't let him go to hell. Don't let him be lost. Don't God, just save him. Protect him. Keep him. We don't know what took place in behind that young man's life. What would have happened had he not got killed in that coal mine? It might have been hell. It might have ended up in hell. We don't know. But the thing about it is they rejected what God had done. And they lost peace. They lost joy. When they finally come back around and say, God, I trust you with it. I trust you with it. Peace come back to their minds. Joy was able to come back into their hearts. God redeemed them back. He redeemed them. He gave them back some pleasure in their life. God laid out the plans of life, man. When He spoke creation, His words were power. His words were essence. His words were the roadmap to a man's life, to a woman's life, of sons, of daughters, of grandma, of grandpa, uncles, aunts, cousins, friends. His words were roadmaps. Everybody has their character. Everybody has their own individual life. Everybody has this own little individual part that belongs to them and nothing else. Nobody else has control of that. That's between me and God and between you and God. We all have it. It was given to us of God, by God. We all have it. But if you want peace in life, you've got to let God be the orchestra. He has to be the one to let you know where your map leads. He's got to be the one that directs it. He has to be the one that directs it. A lot of times we get caught up in things and we don't realize it. We don't realize it until we're pulled off into left field and we're bumping our head up against the wall and we can't figure out why it hurts. God has to be the one to direct our path. I'm going to get off here. Find mercy and grace in God's eyes through the blood of Jesus Christ. You know, there's a lot of things that say, you know, it's like the Bible says, there's places some will say that Christ is over here, and then Christ is over here, Christ is back here. He's all this stuff. He said, follow them not, believe them not, for I have told you. I have told you. And then He didn't only just tell them, He proved it. He proved it. He done things that none of these other so-called could do. And then He said, I'm going to the grave. I'm going to be there for 3 days, and 3 days I'm coming out. I'm going to come up out of that sucker. And He proved it. He proved it. Witnesses seen Him. They know He was hung on a cross. They know He had a spear stuck up through His side and out come blood and water. They know He had nails in his hands and His feet. They know all this stuff went on. They know He was put in a tomb and a big boulder, a big rock rolled over the hole that it couldn't be moved by just a one man inside of a tomb dead. 3 days later, people started seeing Him. Walking, alive, talking, He proved it. Jesus Christ proved it. Muhammad didn't. Buddha didn't. All these others didn't. Jesus Christ proved it. He was the accepted one. Jesus Christ is and was the accepted one of God. The accepted one. That's awesome. Have a good one.